Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into unlawful entry, specifically when it makes a crime worse, legally speaking. It's this interesting concept from the revised penal code about, well, how someone gets into a place to commit a crime. It seems to focus on criminals who kind of bypass normal security, showing what the law calls heightened criminal audacity.
Exactly. And the fundamental idea here is quite specific. Unlawful entry under this rule means getting in through a way that's not intended for entry.
Not intended. Okay.
Yeah, like using an opening or a method that, isn't for normal human passage. And crucially, this entry, this specific way of entering, must happen before the main crime.
Before it.
Yes, and it has to actually facilitate it. It enables the crime.
Okay, right. Let's get practical. What are some clear examples? Because I think sometimes people might confuse this with just like breaking something.
That's a really common point of confusion, yeah. So jurisprudence gives us clear lines. Entering through a window, that's pretty much always unlawful entry under this rule.
Even if the window was, say, unlocked
Yeah.
or already open.
Even then, because a window just isn't considered a primary way in or out for people. Same goes for coming in via like rooftops or ceiling panels or any weird structural opening. If it's not meant for passage, it counts.
Okay, so here's the distinction I wanted to ask about. What if someone, I don't know, takes a crowbar, smashes a front door lock, and walks in through the now broken doorway? Is that this kind of unlawful entry?
Good question. No, it isn't. Not under this specific paragraph, paragraph 18. Breaking a door or window like that falls under a different aggravating circumstance, paragraph 19.
Right. Different rule.
Exactly. This rule, unlawful entry, is focused purely on the method of avoiding the normal path altogether. It's less about the damage and more about the audacity of bypassing the intended entrance.
So the law is almost punishing the sneakiness or the sheer nerve.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. How much does this actually, increase the stakes for someone convicted?
Oh, significantly. It can really bump up the penalties. For something like theft, it could push the sentence into the maximum period allowed. And for more serious crimes like murder or rape, if the offender got into, say, the victim's bedroom through a window, that signals to the court a greater disregard, maybe even premeditation. It makes the crime seem much worse.
Wow. Okay. Powerful stuff. But what about avoiding double penalties? Like if the crime itself involves breaking in?
Right, that's the crucial safeguard. The law avoids punishing the same element twice. So if the main crime already requires unlawful or forced entry as part of its basic definition.
Like robbery with force upon things.
It's exactly like robbery with force upon things.
Mhm.
In those cases, the unlawful entry is seen as baked into the crime itself. It's inherent. You can't then use it again as a separate aggravating circumstance to increase the penalty further. No double dipping.
Okay, that makes sense. But could you stack it with other circumstances, like, say, the fact it happened in the victim's home, the dwelling circumstance?
Yes, you often can. Courts have looked at this. The thinking is, entering through a window, for example, is one wrongly unlawful method. Violating the sanctity of someone's home, their dwelling, that's considered a separate wrong, even if related. So both can apply to aggravate something like murder.
I see. Two distinct violations.
Precisely. They enhance culpability independently.
And you mentioned there's one more sort of specific exception, something about trespass.
Correct, yeah. A bit nuanced, this one. It involves the crime of trespass to dwelling, but only when violence is involved. There's a precedent, U.S. v. Barbarin, I believe. It suggests that if the way you unlawfully enter, say, climbing through a window, is also the very act that constitutes the violence element required for that specific type of trespass.
Ah, so the entry is the violence.
Essentially, yes. In that specific scenario, the unlawful entry might merge with the violence element. The court might say they're indistinguishable for penalty purposes to avoid, again, an unfair multiplication of penalties.
Got it. It's all quite detailed, isn't it? So, wrapping this up for everyone listening, big takeaway seems to be this focus on the offender's mindset, that extra level of disregard or audacity shown by how they chose to enter, crawling through a gap instead of using the door.
Exactly. It's about disrespecting boundaries and security expectations in a particularly blatant way, which leaves you with a final thought, maybe. When does this unlawful entry count as its own separate wrong, making the overall crime worse? And when is it just, well, the way the main crime happened, that's the line courts have to walk. It really shapes how severe the punishment ends up being.